Ever seen someone second-guessing every tiny decision or apologizing for things that aren't even their fault? You are most likely witnessing the aftermath of narcissistic abuse. These survivors have strange behaviors that you can easily catch and deal with them accordingly. Narcissistic abuse messes someone up in a way that changes their entire way of living and behaving. These survivors have certain behaviors that seem weird to us, but are actually their survival mechanisms turned into daily habits. Today, we will discuss these odd traits so you can figure out if you are talking to a victim of narcissistic abuse. Let's dive in. First up, they have boundary issues. Survivors of narcissistic abuse have boundary issues, and it shows up in some pretty strange ways. Imagine someone who either lets people walk all over them or gets super defensive the minute someone tries to get close. This all stems from their time with a narcissist. They have had their personal space and limits crushed on so much that they either don't recognize their own boundaries anymore, or they go into full-on defense mode to protect themselves. For example, you will see them saying yes to things they clearly don't want to do just to avoid conflict. Or on the flip side, they will snap at you for something minor simply because it feels like a threat to their already fragile sense of self. It is their way of coping with the constant invasion they have experienced. The best way to deal with them is with patience and understanding. Give them space when they need it, and gently encourage them to assert themselves in healthy ways. Help them find that middle ground where they can stand up for themselves without feeling threatened. Secondly, they tend to self-isolate. Isolation is another biggie for those who have survived narcissistic abuse. They pull back from social circles because they fear not being believed or understood. This isn't just about shyness or being introverted. It is a deep-seated response to the trauma they have been through. They have had their trust shattered, their self-esteem eroded, and they are emotionally exhausted. They just want to retreat into a personal fortress, like a turtle pulling into its shell when it senses danger. In such cases, they would rather stay home than risk running into someone who will criticize them or make them feel awkward. They prefer the peace of solitude over the potential pain of social interaction. It makes sense when you think about it. They are trying to protect themselves from being hurt again. But this isolation, while it feels safe, also keeps them from healing fully. To break this cycle, they need support from understanding friends, therapists, or support groups. They must reconnect with people who can offer empathy and validation. Think of it as their personal timeout, a period to regroup and recover without fear of judgment. For them, the world can feel off-kilter, like a minefield. Interactions that seem normal to us feel like potential traps to them. But there is hope. This self-imposed isolation isn't forever. It is just a phase in their healing journey. With time, understanding, and a bit of patience, they can come out stronger and ready to engage with the world again. They are in a process of transformation, and with the right support, they will spread their wings and thrive once more. The third one is difficulty making decisions. Have you ever seen someone get completely stuck choosing between something as simple as chocolate and vanilla ice cream? Now imagine feeling that way about almost every decision, no matter how big or small. That is what life is like for people who have survived narcissistic abuse. They have had their choices and opinions constantly criticized and dismissed. Over time, this relentless undermining messes with their confidence and makes decision-making feel like climbing a mountain. They struggle to trust their instincts on anything, whether it is picking a movie or deciding what to wear. With some support and patience, they can start to rebuild that trust in themselves, one small decision at a time. If you see someone harrowing over a simple choice, remember they can be on a journey to reclaim their confidence. Each decision, no matter how minor, is a step towards regaining their independence. And who knows, with time, they will become someone's go-to person for making the tough calls. Next up is excessive self-blame. Excessive self-blame is something many survivors of narcissistic abuse struggle with. Narcissists are experts at making their victims feel like everything is their fault. They use tactics like gaslighting to twist reality and make their victims believe they are the problem, even when they are not. This constant self-blame can paralyze them emotionally, trapping them in guilt, shame, and low self-esteem. The first step to breaking free from this cycle is realizing that the blame belongs to the narcissist, not the survivor. Getting help from therapists and support from friends and family can help survivors rebuild their self-worth and move forward. While excessive self-blame is a tough hurdle, it is important to remember that healing is possible. With the right support and understanding, survivors can start to see that they aren't alone on their journey to recovery. At number 5, we have hypervigilance. Hypervigilance is a common trait among those who have survived narcissistic abuse. Imagine someone always on edge, constantly scanning their surroundings for any sign of trouble. This is what life feels like for these survivors. Their trauma has shattered their sense of safety and leaves them in a confused state of alertness, always bracing for the next hit. It is a survival mechanism, a way to shield themselves from further harm. Sometimes, this hypervigilance can border on paranoia. They become so focused on spotting potential threats that they see red flags even when none exist. Rebuilding trust becomes a massive challenge. It takes therapy, support groups, and a lot of patience to help these individuals regain their confidence and learn healthier ways to navigate relationships. It is a complex, deeply implanted response to trauma that requires time and professional help to balance. Moving on, they have people-pleasing tendencies. After being on the receiving end of a narcissist's unpredictable reactions, they have learned to read and adapt to other people's moods as a way to protect themselves. But it is not just about avoiding trouble. It is also about seeking approval. They have been conditioned to crave validation, to hear that they are doing things right. Have you ever met someone who seems to live just to make others happy? Constantly checking in to see if everyone else is comfortable and content? That is people-pleasing in a nutshell. And it is something many narcissistic abuse survivors do. They have turned every day into a mission to keep the peace by putting everyone else's needs before their own. While this knack for tuning into others can be a positive trait when balanced with self-care, it becomes detrimental when it means sacrificing their own happiness. The challenge is finding that sweet spot where they can make others happy without losing themselves in the process. Number 7 is the unusual resilience and empathy. Now let's talk about the unexpected strengths that come out of the chaos of narcissistic abuse. Resilience and empathy. Think of someone who has been through an emotional boot camp and emerged stronger than ever. That is what these survivors embody. They have been dragged through the emotional mud, but have developed a resilience that is nothing short of incredible. They have learned to pick themselves up, dust off, and keep pushing forward no matter how tough things get. It is the deep-rooted strength forged in the fires of their struggles. Then there is empathy. After going through so much misunderstanding and being undervalued, these people become incredibly tuned in to others' feelings. It is like they have turned into emotional experts, able to connect and understand others on a deep level. Their tough journey has sharpened their ability to empathize and support others in truly remarkable ways. So while the road through narcissistic abuse is rough and definitely not a good thing, it can also bring out some amazing qualities. It is like turning raw material into something precious. These survivors come out not just okay, but stronger, with a deep understanding and resilience that is really inspiring. Now that is a story worth celebrating. Another one is that they suffer from the impostor syndrome. Impostor syndrome is when someone feels like a fraud and thinks they are not as capable or skilled as they really are. They are always waiting for someone to expose them as a fake, even though their accomplishments clearly show they are competent. For those who have been through narcissistic abuse, this hits especially hard. Narcissists mess with their heads by making them doubt their own worth and abilities. Even when they have the skills and knowledge, they can't shake the feeling that they are just pretending. It is like the narcissist's voice is stuck in their head, constantly telling them they are not good enough. Getting past this isn't about suddenly feeling confident. It is about understanding that these feelings are leftovers from the abuse, not the truth. They need time, support, and sometimes professional help to rebuild their self-esteem. It is a process of learning to see their achievements clearly, without the distorted lens of their past experiences. Feeling like an imposter doesn't mean they are one. It is just a mental glitch that can be worked through with the right tools and support. Moving on, they obsess over personal relationships like crazy. After escaping the grip of a narcissist, they often become fixated on every detail of their interactions. Every conversation, text message, and casual comment is replayed and analyzed to death. They're constantly looking for hidden meanings or potential red flags, trying to avoid being hurt again. This detective-like behavior can be exhausting and stressful, causing misunderstandings and unnecessary anxiety. But there's hope. With time, support, and self-compassion, they can learn to ease up. It's about helping them trust their own instincts and enjoy their relationships without overthinking every little detail. They need to reconnect with their own sense of judgment and start living in the moment again. At number 10, they apologize excessively. Survivors of narcissistic abuse find themselves saying sorry for things way beyond their control. It could be anything from the weather to someone else's bad mood. This comes from the narcissist, making them feel responsible for everything that went wrong. They carry around a heavy burden of guilt, constantly feeling the need to apologize to keep the peace. This behavior, known as fawning, is a survival tactic. It was their way of managing the narcissist's unpredictable behavior, but it is draining and chips away at their self-esteem. They need to understand that this guilt isn't theirs to bear. The shame and responsibility placed on them by the narcissist were unfair and manipulative. Healing involves letting go of this misplaced guilt and learning to assert themselves without constant apologies. They are not doormats. They are survivors trying to navigate their way back to a healthier, more balanced life. And lastly, they have difficulty in expressing emotions. A big fallout from narcissistic abuse is struggling to express emotions. Survivors find it incredibly hard to open up, even to themselves. This emotional shutdown is a coping mechanism they develop to protect themselves from the narcissist's manipulative reactions. Over time, they learn to keep their feelings locked away to avoid further pain and confusion. This emotional block can be rooted in their past, especially if they grew up in a household where their feelings were ignored or belittled. They might have been taught early on that their emotions didn't matter, which can lead to lifelong struggles in expressing how they truly feel. You will notice them being unusually quiet or reserved, avoiding deep conversations, or brushing off their own feelings as unimportant. They will say things like, "I am fine," or "it is nothing," when they are clearly not okay. They try to stay safe in this way, but it also keeps them from fully connecting with others. Helping them involves a lot of patience and gentle encouragement. They need a safe space where they feel understood and not judged. Little by little, with the right support, they can start to unlock those bottled up emotions and learn that it is okay to share how they feel. If you found this video interesting, I would appreciate you showing support by hitting that like button below. Feel free to leave any questions or thoughts in the comments section, and don't forget to subscribe for more. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.